reminder for the class. It's about 2 hours. So a lot of folks are getting either had that done or need to get started on that. And the class survey, if you can hook that up for me. So a lot of things to work on today. Class 10 slides are not that long. So majority of the time, we should be taking to study for any additional exams that you want to take, any additional tools and things of that nature. So it's pretty much classwork for a couple hours this morning. Then around 11, we'll get into the lecture, right? So you have any questions for me this morning? Any at all? Any at all? Did anybody try to do the image? Make an ISO image yet?
No.
Maybe when you wait to get a thumb drive, you'll try it, but
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Make sure you label it too. Label the thumb drive, yeah. But I'll let you get to it. If you need something, I am here.
Welcome to Trend Torch Network, where it... That's a live stream. Boy, it's hard to see my live stream. There it is. I should probably turn up my own volume here so I can hear it. Oh boy, it is a great day here. Hope everybody's doing well. It's our pre-show for today's Security Plus study group. And if you are ever wondering about, and I'm listening to myself in my microphone right now. There's you can't see it. Let me bring up my view of what I'm doing right now. This is the part of the pre-show where I check to make sure cameras are working, microphones are working, and I'm just not getting very much output out of my headset. This is why we always tell people when you call in, is it plugged in? It is not. There we go. I sound so different now. It's always something. I hope that's the worst of our
Good morning, Martin. We're just working on classwork for the first couple hours.
Today on Security Plus. This is going to be great. We start at the top of the
And
hour.
good morning, Jesus.
It is close to the top of the hour. Got about 10 minutes to go.
Morning.
Well, the chat's already open. Hey, chat room. Hope everybody's doing well. Hello, Mal. Hey, we missed one, didn't we? I think it's going to miss us. Is it Melissa? Is that the name of it? It's now a hurricane, or will be a hurricane. So we're good. We are making it happen. So I'm glad it sort of missed both of us this time through. Pretty happy about that.
Morning.
This is great to see everyone. Thanks for joining in today. I have all new questions, of course, for you in this first hour. And then I am taking your questions for the second hour. If you would like to put your virtual pin in our digital pin cushion, finished enough on terms, there they are. You can do that by heading to the link that is on your screen. This is also the link that we will be using for our Q&A. So once you're on that link, you can just stay there. The screen will automatically update so that you can see the questions as they show up. That is also the link you can use to submit questions for the second hour. Is this recorded? Well, I mean, this is not the recording. This is the live part, but this is recorded. And it will be available on YouTube immediately after we're done. When I hit the stop button, it processes for a couple of minutes, and then it's available for anybody watching the replay. And of course, we have an entire replay playlist on YouTube and a replay page on the Professor Messer website. And I am recording things too. You can't really see them. Let me get rid of my lower third here. See the circling Cylons down here? Those Cylons are my recording. Yeah, that's working great. Everything's working. Don't say too loud. Everything appears to be working. So we're gonna go with that. We're gonna make that happen. And hopefully it won't bother people too much. I did notice that it says new Chrome available in the upper right hand corner. Now we're all gonna stare at it for the rest of the time. But I don't want to update the browser because I'm doing a live stream. It's one of those situations. We need to go through change control. I need to process this as a change control request. We need to test the update to Chrome and then confirm that it works properly. Then we can roll it out. What's actually going to happen is I'm just going to push the button. Now, once we're done, I will push the button so that it updates. And that'll give me until the next live event to fix any problems. Probably not the best strategy, but that's sort of how we do things sometimes. When we're updating the website, it's very different. I have a completely separate test system. I load things onto the test system. I test on the test system. Then it's deployed over to production. So the Chrome update, I think we're okay. The Chrome update on my personal machine. People checking in from all over the place. You can see folks are checking in. Lots of folks in North America and Canada. Got some folks in Vancouver. It's like some folks out on the East Coast as well. And then way up north. Really? You guys are working it there in Canada. I got some kinfolk up there, so it's nice to see folks checking in from Canada. There's all kinds of something happening here. We've got also folks checking in from the European Union and from South Africa and way out here in the islands of the Pacific. And there's Pembroke Pines. There's somebody on Pines Boulevard. There's somebody on Miramar Parkway checking in. Thanks for being here. Somebody on Flamingo is checking in. We've got a lot to go through today. I have all new questions, of course, and some of the questions I of course redo and update the questions before every one of these. I usually write more questions than I'm going to use. I think that's just a good idea. So I have some that were left over from last week, and then I wrote new ones for this week, and it was really nice to go through that process again. I like having that the Q&A part of it. And as I'm writing it, I'm thinking, I wonder if they're going to get this one, if this is a gimme, if it's not. We try different things every time. And I don't think I've figured out the formula yet, but I'm trying. We're getting there. After 19 years, we're still tweaking the formula. We're still trying to figure it out, which is fine. Well, we have a lot to go through also with other things that are happening. Everything looks good. I'm checking all of my video inputs, and they look pretty good. Happy with that. Hope everybody's doing well out there in the chat. Thanks for being here, by the way. We appreciate you. Taj is going for the test on Friday. This is a lot of folks checking in, going to Friday. Somebody mentioned earlier, you scheduled your exam on December 25th, which is an unusual time to schedule anything, really. But why not? You know, if they're got people on and they are
Good morning, Aaliyah.
It'll certainly be time off, I would imagine, for many people. So schedule's in right there with everything else, I guess. Hey, once you finish opening the
We're just
presents,
working
you
on
finish
coursework for a couple hours this
lunch, your
morning.
dinner, why not take an exam? I used to have to work on holidays. I worked in a computing center for university when I was going through university. And we of course, that's a 24/7. The computers are always running. You can't really turn off all the mainframes and go away for a holiday. So everything keeps running, so you have to staff it. So the people that get to staff it are the ones that are lowly, bottom of the totem pole kind of folks. And that was me. And so I have spent Christmases with the computers before. Oh boy, we've got a lot to go through. This is recorded. We got plenty to talk about. In fact, there's full replays of every study group that we've done, I don't know, ever on the YouTube. You can always go to our YouTube channel at professormesser.com/YouTube, and you'll see playlists there, and you will be able to watch any of them, our A+, our Network Plus, and our Security Plus study groups, even study groups going back many years. We've got lots of study groups, so you can watch. I don't recommend going back too far. We keep our playlists for our study groups specific to the current version. So it does say SY0701. What is a study group? I'm so glad you asked. I need you to watch for the next 2 hours, and you will know what a study group is. It's the thing that we do every month where I will ask you questions that come from the exam objectives, and we all get to answer them online and see how we do. It's sort of like a game show with no prizes. That's exactly. Your prize is knowledge. That's what it is. There's not no prize. It's you become a better person. You become a smarter person by going to the study group. That is your bonus. That is the piece of it to go. Yeah, this is not the study group part. This is the pre-show. We've got 1 minute and 15 seconds or so before we actually get started. This is me making sure everything's turned on. You will eventually have a much better view of what's happening than what I am doing right here. So we are good. We'll talk about Security Plus. We'll talk about all kinds of things when we go through this. There's plenty to step through. Lots going on here. Oh, by the way, you can of course always submit questions for the second hour at any time using the same link that is right there behind me at the bottom of your screen, professormesser.com/QA. That is where you answer questions. It's also where you can ask questions, and I will be taking your questions. You can ask anything you'd like and submit it using those tabs at the top of your page to be able to do that. 30 seconds to go. 30 seconds, Mr. Sinatra. We're going to get things started here in just a moment. So glad you are here. So glad we are doing this. We always have a good time. We're putting these together, and it's always nice to be able to be here live and talk to all of you. So thank you so much for carving out some time and just stopping by and saying hello, if nothing else. Okay, with that, we are at the top of the hour. I want to see it turn to 12, just because that's how I am. There we go. Top of the hour, which means I need to find my keynote. That's not my keynote, that's my radar. We need keynote. There's keynote. Let's get a green light. Green light, green is good. And, oh, there we go. That means it's time for a live stream, everybody. Let's see if we can make this happen. There goes that little thing. Here comes this thing. And let's start the live stream. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the October 2025 Professor Messer SY0701 Security Plus Study Group. This is the study group where I ask you questions that come directly from the CompTIA exam objectives. We get to see just how well you might know some of those topics. We have all new questions, of course, to go through today. Plenty to work through as we are going through and studying the latest exam objectives. We will be stepping through all of those in this live stream. If you are here live, we would love it if you joined us by opening a new tab in your browser and heading over to professormesser.com/QA. This is the link that will give you access to answer the questions as we go through this. Now, I realize, of course, that many of you are not watching this live. You're watching this on a replay, and if that's the case, this link won't be available for you. You should join us live. You can always find out when the next live event is going to be by looking at our events calendar at professormesser.com/calendar. Well, now that you've gone to that link, you've popped open a new browser window, you're at professormesser.com/QA, I would like you to answer a question for me, and that question is one that we did last month. It's our only old question, a reused question that you will see today, just to see if you're able to get in and answer the question online. The question is, and as I go through this, keep in mind, of course, please do not answer the question in the chat room. Please do not put any hints into the chat room. That is our standing rule on our live stream. Instead, you want to go to the link that is on your screen, professormesser.com/QA. The question asks, a company would like to minimize the chance of data corruption if a database server was to unexpectedly lose power. Which of the following backup strategies would be the best choice? Would it be journaling, encryption, snapshots, offsite storage, or replication? It's got to be one of those, right? Now, if you think you know what the answer is, do not answer in the chat room. Use the link on your screen. Go to professormesser.com/QA. We're going to come back to this question in just a moment. So get your answers in, and we will have a look at what other things we can do today that will bring you up to date with Security Plus. Thank you so much for joining us. It'd be very difficult to do a live stream with interactivity if there was no one to interact with. So thank you so much for joining us live. And if you're watching on the replay, thank you as well. Of course, when we are not here doing a live stream, you can go to professormesser.com/YouTube, professormesser.com/Twitter or /X, professormesser.com/Instagram/Discord. You get the idea. If you want to find us on social media, just type in professormesser.com/the social media site you would like to find us on, and that would be the one you can go with. One of the things that we are focused on today is the Security Plus exam, of course. The latest, the most recent, the one that is current, is a version number called the SY0701. This was an exam that was released on November the 7th of 2023, and we estimated that it will probably retire somewhere around May of 2027. Now, we don't know exactly when that retirement date will be because it's not been announced by CompTIA yet, but generally they keep their exams active about 3.5 years, which means as we sit here today in October of 2025, you have plenty of time to study for your exam. The exam itself is a single exam. It's 90 minutes in length. You get a maximum of 90 questions. You could get fewer than 90 questions on this exam. The passing score you're hoping for is on a scale between 100 and 900, and you need to score 750. So there's quite a bit that we have to go through and we have to know to get up to that scoring level. So you really do have to know your stuff. The exam itself is primarily a multiple choice exam, but CompTIA also has performance-based questions on the exam, and we do have a performance-based question for you today. We'll have to see how well we do with our performance-based questions, so stick around for that one as well. We also want to remind you that we have a lot more than just our free course that's available on YouTube that you can watch without having to register. You don't have to pay for it. You just simply go to YouTube and everything is there for you. But of course, you might want some other study materials as well. And we have course notes, we have practice exams, we have downloadable versions and offline versions of the audio and video files. We have direct access to me and questions you can ask during this live stream. We have these live streams themselves and so much more. We have our Exam Hacks ebook. There's a lot more on our website. If you'd like to see other study materials that might help you get over that hump and earn that Security Plus certification, you can have a look over at professormesser.com/701SB. There will be a replay posted of this live stream immediately afterwards. It's available on YouTube, and there will be links on the Professor Messer website over to that connection. Of course, we also create an audio-only podcast version of this live stream. You can find it under professormesser.com/podcast. So if you'd like to have audio that you can have in your car when you're working out, something that you can just listen to and learn wherever you happen to be, you might want to add this to your favorite podcast listening program. If you have a subscription with one of the streaming services like Spotify, for example, you don't have to download anything. You simply need to search for Professor Messer, and all of that audio is available on those platforms as well. If you have a look at our YouTube video description, you'll notice about a day after we're done here, there will be an extensive list of timestamps that will be there. Those timestamps are not something done automatically. In fact, it's very difficult to do these with any type of automated process. It turns out to be just a mess if you ever try. So one of the things that's important here is that we have someone go through our entire live stream and document everything that we've done, and that person is my marketing manager, Lori. Hi, Lori. She's going through and watching this probably at 2x speed, and she is really focusing on making sure that you're able to go back and find exactly what you want at exactly the right timestamp and be able to find that across all of our live streams. Thank you so much, Lori, for doing this. I know that everybody is able to take advantage of those, so thank you for putting in that effort. And hopefully those of you that are looking for information on these live streams, you can use those timestamps as well. When we're not here on the timestamp and looking through the timestamps and going through the YouTube video descriptions and going through the replays, we're often offline in our Discord. This is where we have thousands of people that are studying for their A+, their Network Plus, and their Security Plus certifications. There's also a lot of smart people there that already have a number of these certifications that can help out with some of the more nuanced issues and ideas around these exam objectives. Have a look on our Discord. We'd love for you to join us. We are at professormesser.com/discord. Eventually, you will need to take your exam, and you can certainly go out to the CompTIA website and pay full price. But if you are in the U.S., Canada, or a U.S. territory, you can get your voucher at a discount. You don't have to pay full price. I've already knocked off money that you don't need a coupon code, you don't need an extension in your browser. You only need to visit this link that is on your screen, professormesser.com/vouchers. And the vouchers are already discounted. Some of them are discounted quite a bit. So this may be a great way to save a little bit of money. Not only are you saving money, I want to give you something a little bit extra. So if you purchase a voucher from my site, you're eligible to download and read through my Exam Hacks ebook. This is an ebook I wrote that lists out all of the tips and tricks that I've accumulated through the years when taking these CompTIA exams. I even give you some strategies you can use during the exam to give yourself a couple of extra points, hopefully. So have a look at those. Those vouchers are available at professormesser.com/vouchers. Now, what about that question we asked earlier? Let's see how you did with this. The question asked, a company would like to minimize the chance of data corruption if a database server was to unexpectedly lose power. Which of the following backup strategies would be the best choice? Would it be journaling, encryption, snapshots, offsite storage, or replication? Let's information never got down to your system. So now we're talking about dealing with a third party, dealing with your internet service provider, which, by the way, is something that company does all the time. It's interesting how many skills that we can do in our home lab that have a direct correlation to things that you would do every day in a very large-scale corporate network. Some of the software is different, the scope is certainly different, but the fundamentals are exactly the same. And that's what we're trying to do, is give you the fundamentals so that at that point, you can start telling the stories. Stories become extremely important in an interview. I was reading just as an aside before we go to the next question, I was reading a Reddit post, I want to say it was this week, where someone was talking about having stories during an interview, and the person was responding how important those stories were. I thought, well, I could have written this. That's exactly right. The next, as Reddit does, the next comment was, well, that's stupid. The person doing the interview should be the one asking the questions and setting the tone. I thought, there's the problem, of course. One of those people is going to get the job. The other person is not. Which one do you think it is going to be? So, Anonymous, thank you for submitting that question. That is a great way to have that conversation started. Maybe that gives you some ideas about what you could do, even without having a job. You don't have to get a master's degree. Take the knowledge that you've gotten with your 2-year or 4-year degree and now just start expanding on it. And by the way, I've worked with many people in this world of IT, many of them that had a 4-year degree. I work with people that have had master's degree. I've worked with people that have had doctorates, and doctorates in things that weren't even technology related. I've also worked with people that had a high school degree. That was it. But we're incredibly successful in the world of technology because technology is not specifically about the things that you learn at university. Now, if you were going to be a lawyer, that university teaching is incredibly important. If you were going to be a doctor, you definitely need to go through some very strenuous university type study. But for IT, which falls in this very interesting gray area that somehow sits outside of university but sort of is starting to blend its way in, you really need to be able to work at many different levels, technologically speaking. So that's my recommendation to you as well. Let's keep going through this list of questions that you have submitted to see what other things that we happen to have here. We got a lot in this list. Thank you for submitting these, by the way. I'm pouring through. Some of you have submitted just comments, which is great as well. Sorry that we won't be stopping on those. We're going to take questions in this section, but I am reading through them, so thank you for submitting them. By the way, if you ever have a question or a comment about anything that we're doing at ProfessorMesser.com, you can always use that Contact Us link that is at the top of our website. That comes directly to me, and it's a great way to communicate with me. Or if you are already a member of our site, you've purchased one of our training products before, you can open a help desk ticket from your member login, which is an even better way to get my eyeballs. Those get a little bit higher priority in our list of things. Ultimately, everybody gets an answer, however, of course. Let's go back to your questions. This is another great question. This is about studying. This is about knowing when you're ready to take the exam. This is also from my good friend Anonymous, who asks, I've been studying for my exam for 6 months now. I've attended all your live sessions, watched your YouTube course, practiced many questions, usually scoring around 80 to 85%. However, I still don't feel confident enough to take the exam because my employer is paying for it, and I'd be really disappointed if I failed. How can I tell if I'm truly ready? Well, this is the one that is the question that I often get. Has to be in my top 5 of questions that we often get. This could have been written by me. I'm this person. So I did not write this question. Someone else wrote it, but I'm a 6-month studier as well. As many of you know, on average, the Security Plus exam takes about 2 to 3 months on average for someone new to come in, study everything they need to study, and pass this exam. But I'm not average. I take a long time to study because I like to really dive into every single topic to really understand it. And my study time is very limited. I don't have a lot of time during the day to study. I have a family, I have a business to run, I have questions from you, I have things that are going on, so I might get an hour or two at night, maybe, if I'm lucky. So it takes me about 6 months to get through this. Nothing wrong with that. But how do you know if you're ready? Worrying about an exam, I think, is a universal truth. Everybody has anxiety about their exam to some degree. Everybody doesn't know if am I really ready to take the exam or not? I just don't know. So the first thing that I think would give you a very good barometer, that would give you a very good check to see if you really are ready to take the exam, is the exam objectives. These tell you everything about how ready you are. Here's what I mean. So let's go through these objectives. I'm going to skip over the introductory section. Let's go straight to section 1, what they call domain 1, general security concepts. And section 1.1 is compare and contrast various types of security controls. So this is one that I think you will run into, and you can see it has different categories, which are technical, managerial, operational, and physical. There are also control types, which are preventive, deterrent, detective, corrective, compensating, and directive. So what you want to immediately do is understand those categories and what each one of those categories stands for, understand the control types and what each one of those control types are. And as you've probably seen from our control types video, there are different controls that you could use across the different categories for each of those control types. So you need to be the one who really understands when somebody says, what is a deterrent control type? Can you answer that? If you can answer that, maybe you mark it in green. If you can kind of answer that, maybe you mark it in yellow. And if you just have no idea what you would tell someone if somebody said, what is a deterrent control type? Maybe you mark that one as red. So you keep going through that list. You keep trying to figure out, well, I'll keep moving this around. You keep going through that list and trying to figure out and know, do I really know it? And you stick on that section until you really do. That is incredibly important because you could be asked about any one of those control type categories or control types themselves during the exam. You need to know it. Once you have gotten a very good understanding of that section, you go down to section 1.2, summarize fundamental security concepts. Would it be, you need to understand CIA? Nope, not that CIA. The confidentiality, integrity, and availability. That's what CIA stands for. This used to be AIC for that very reason. And we got away from that because everybody knows what CIA is. But it's not CIA. It's not confusing at all, is it? We have non-repudiation.
All right, everybody, let's go ahead and take 10. When we get back, we'll jump into today's lesson.
Again, not that AAA. We have authenticating people, authenticating systems, and authorization models. Then we have gap analysis, zero trust, all the control plane options, all the data plane options. You have physical security and all those physical security options. And we have deception and disruption technology. That would be a honeypot, a honeynet, a honeyfile, or a honey token. So if you can explain to yourself or to someone else what all of those bullets are, you can write out that section. Now you've got that section down. Now we go to the next one, section 1.3, and you do the same thing all over again. This is a very involved process, to be sure. This is not a simple process, but this is a very comprehensive study process that should really tell you if you know these topics or not. And if you color code them, you can go right back to the red ones and start cramming on the things that you had no idea about. The green ones you can ignore for the time being because you do understand what those happen to be. And maybe the yellow ones are what you hit next once you're finished all the red ones. So that is a great way. I mentioned a barometer. That is a great barometer to see just how much you remember about the possible topics that could appear on your exam. Now, in this particular case, this person who wrote in, anonymous, wrote in and said they've also practiced questions. Also a great idea. Once you've gone through all the content, once you've read your book, once you've watched all the videos, now let's take some practice questions. Maybe even done some hands-on labs. Let's do some practice questions. And if you're getting around 80 to 85%, those are pretty good numbers. Those are great numbers. So you're really in very good shape. So now the anxiety hits. Now this is outside the scope of technology. Now we have to deal with the anxiety of taking this exam. anytime I take an exam, I'm a bad exam test taker because I have lots of anxiety when I walk into the exam room. In my career, I must have taken over 20 different certification exams of some kind or another, maybe close to 30. And every time I walk into that exam room, my hands are clammy. I'm nervous about the whole thing. I don't want to fail. There's an investment. There's money going into this. I've told people I'm taking the exam. They want to know how I'm going to do on this. They're going to want to know the results of this when I come out of the room. But you don't always pass them. I do not always pass the exams that I take. I try to prepare. I'm much better at preparing these days. But earlier on in my career, it wasn't very good. I didn't have a strategy. I didn't understand what it took to really study for these exams. And I was walking into the exams, maybe studying the wrong thing or studying in the wrong way. So having a very specific strategy around the objectives, the videos, the books, the labs, and ultimately the practice questions is a great way to test yourself, to really solidify the foundational knowledge that you are creating with this exam, and it will make you more confident when you walk into the exam room. I will give you my number one tip for handling the exam anxiety. Because my problem with anxiety is it all happens at the beginning of the exam. Maybe this is you too. For those of you that deal with this, you know exactly what I'm saying. You sit down for the exam, you start go, the first question comes up, and the question says, blah, 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 A, B, C, or D. The problem is, everything I just read sounded that way in my brain. The question, I didn't really read any of those words. It was just blah, 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 blah. I read the entire question, and then I sat back and thought, I have no idea what I just read. Because the adrenaline is going, you're nervous, it doesn't help you very much when that happens. And it takes you about 5 or 10 minutes to sort of bleed off the anxiety so that you can read the screen. So what I recommend is at the beginning of the exam, there is a document you must agree to. It's called the candidate agreement. There's a copy of this candidate agreement on the CompTIA website. If you type in CompTIA candidate agreement into your favorite search engine, you remember search engines, right? They will take you to the page on the CompTIA website that shows you the same candidate agreement that you have to read through. It's big. Look at all the stuff you have to read before you're able to take your exam. You have to read all of this. So they give you like 10 or 15 minutes before you start the exam to read through all of this and to click I agree. So you know what normal people do? I mean, normal people who aren't seeing blah, 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 blah on their screen, they scroll the bottom, they click OK, and they start their exam. That's not what I recommend that myself or you do. I recommend you read through this document, that you start reading it, and maybe it would even be a good idea to read through this document now so you know what it says when you get into the room. Otherwise, when you start reading it, it will say definitions, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't help you either. But having time before the exam might help you. But it's a 10 or 15-minute cool down. It's a timeout. It's a chance for you to technically start the exam. The person has left the room, the proctor has left the room, or the proctor has now started the exam on your side. But now, you can take some deep breaths. You might even want to read through some of this just so you have something to read and spend some time. Candidate information, show me all information related to you, collected by CompTIA or any CompTIA agent, including without limitation, registration information. You can just go through the whole thing. Now, when you do that, it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Your timer for the exam has not started yet. This is specifically 10 or 15 minutes that is blocked out prior to the actual start time. Take advantage of this timeout period. Take advantage of cool down. It's a way to get out the anxiety, or at least help get out the anxiety. And you can use that time to now start remembering what English looks like. Start remembering what words and letters put together into a sentence form actually mean. And then when you're done, you can finally click the I agree and actually begin the exam. And now we're in pretty good shape. We're really good shape now because we can understand what we're seeing on the screen. So just another tip or trick that I think might be useful if you're someone like me who just gets so super nervous. You're in the exam and I don't know what it says. The screen, it's a weird environment. There's a funny noise. The mouse is funny. The screen's small. All that stuff just goes away. Now you can just relax, read through the exam information, and then when you're ready for the first question, you can attack it straight on. Maybe that will help you as well. There's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of breathing exercises you might want to think about. You should YouTube some of those. Those are really great for anxiety. Just really relaxing in front of that exam. Those can be super, super useful if you are someone like me who just really has to work through exams that way. And ultimately, I think anything you do is going to help you on that final score. So just think that while you are taking that timeout period, imagine your score going up the moment you do that. That might help you as well. Thank you for submitting that question. That was a very useful one to think about. It reminds me of taking exams. One of the worst exams I ever took, story time, one of the worst exams I ever took, although maybe now it's one of the best exams I ever took. It was as I recall, it was either a Microsoft MCSE exam or, because of the time frame when I took it, I have a feeling it was a CNX certification exam. It's a Certified Network Expert. It's an exam series that doesn't exist anymore, but it tests you on the fundamentals of networking technologies. Networking technologies and cabling. There's a cabling CNX, understanding categories of cable, how to properly install cable. Yeah, it was a real exam. I took that one too. Took that one twice. Actually, talking about not passing your exams, did not pass that exam the first time through. But I took an exam on Ethernet, for example, an Ethernet CNX exam. You really have to know the frame formats. You have to understand the different types of ether types. You really needed to understand implementations of jumbo frames at the protocol levels. It was a fun exam. It was a great exam. It was very detailed and being able to work through it. So I booked an exam sitting for the CNX. It works just like you do with the CompTIA, the Cisco, the Red Hat, or anything else that you would take, an AWS exam. You schedule the exam at an exam center. You go to the exam center. They sit you down in front of the computer. You take the exam, and we see if you pass or if you fail. Now, at the time, I was working in Miami. I was working near the airport in Miami International, and I was working for an insurance company. And this exam testing center was right around the corner. Well, it turns out it was an exam testing center that was designed for airline certifications, but it was not in the fanciest of places. And if you've ever been down near the Miami airport, you may have some inkling as to what I am saying. And although it was an unusual setup, I think it was on a second floor. You go up some rickety stairs onto the second floor of what looked to be like a strip mall type building. And you walk in, it was a tiny little office, and in the corner was a closet that did not have a door on it. And inside the closet was a desk and a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse, and you sort of sit in a chair on the outside of the closet with no door and work at this desk. That was their testing center.
All right, good morning, everybody.
And
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Going in and out of the door.
That's today we're going to get into day 10.
Interesting. It was an interesting test environment. Now, I want
1.5 more lessons left. We'll be in there.
It was a number of years.
You know what I'm saying?
But
How y'all feeling this morning? Y'all good?
I passed that exam. But it was the
Pretty good? Okay, good. Good. That's what I like to hear.
It's one of the reasons.
I know all of y'all got a lot of different situations going on.
It might not be a bad idea.
Then you got the job hunt thing going on. I know Miss Jewel will be in here this afternoon. Elaine, I got your message here where it says that the finals are submitted, so I'll take a look at that for you, okay?
Yeah.
Appreciate that. But, yeah, so here we are. If we're looking at the daily objectives and what we're showing here, looks like we're going to be landing back in domain number 1, 1.2, to be specific. And it's going to be talking about there, we're looking at potential malicious activity once again. And getting back into that. So
here's a good one. This is a question we
let's see what we have.
get, but still, perfect.
Now, you know how we do it as we go along. I like to do review as we go and then connect the dots from different things that we've looked at or learned about before. So this will be no different there. So when we start looking at
Memorization,
malicious activity, let's start there. When you are being called somewhere to take a look at a computer and determine to see if there's an issue, you as the network administrator, network engineer, sysadmin, whatever title that you're holding, you're going to have to notice some different things that are happening to the end item and on the network. So if we look at the slide, one thing that's going to help us out is if we can definitely identify network or bandwidth consumption. That helps. Now y'all know I'm gonna present y'all some questions like y'all the experts, so y'all gotta help me out here, okay? This is just spitballing here. We're spitballing. So if let's say for instance right now, all of us are dropping on the network. None of us can connect to Zoom or another resource in the network.
Yeah.
What do you think that type of attack could cause that? What do you think?
Or they're talking about something that is a simple or very common port number that might be in use.
What can cause that type of attack?
Specifically in the Security Plus exam objectives, you may not want to spend any time.
What type of flooding attack?
Because this
Kevin, you got it right too as well. DDoS or DOS, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, overflow.
Yeah.
Sin attacks now. Dang, you dug deep there, Charles.
Yeah. Yeah.
The sin flood attack is, oh, here we go. He's got the hacker hat on. The sin flood attack is when all you want the computer to do is to steal the resource from the server just to initiate a connection, and then you back off and say, just playing. Well, wait, initiate, just playing. So now you're tying up the reactive resources of the server. There you go. Say it right there. Sin flood attacks leave multiple half-open lines of communication, which causes the man. Y'all ready to take this exam today? Y'all ready? So Charles and Mr. T picking up where Martin left off yesterday, dropping knowledge in the Brian, right? So yeah, y'all are basically geniuses. Yes, y'all are. Love it. So when you're looking at that there, so identify the abnormality and patterns. You'll see here that you have your data dashboard sitting up here, and it tells you when you have spikes. So we're looking at, so where can you go in your computer? Elaine said partial geeks. This is partial geeks. Thank you, Mr. T. Taskman.
Yeah.
Yep. Elaine said Taskman.
Yeah.
All right. Charles drops William Defoe. What's going on with that? What's going on? He's a great actor, if you ask me. All the way back to Flight of the Intruder.
Yeah.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself. Oh my gosh. I give you some surprises there. All right, so here we go. If we look at this, now we're differentiating between normal and abnormal bandwidth patterns. We're looking for those identifiable spikes that can really, really tell us what's going on. These are the real-time anomaly detection techniques. We're going to use different dashboards to take a look at this. I may help you out on this one. Charles says perfection. You're going to use what they call NetFlow.
Expecting that you understand not only that VDI means virtual desktop
If I
infrastructure,
can type on the right keyboard.
how you would use that
NetFlow can also be a traffic management tool to see what's coming through your network, what's consuming a lot of bandwidth. Again, I'm asking you these commands because you may see them on the CYSA. If you're working on a Linux machine, and I'm like, man, a lot of stuff's slowing down. What can I type to see what's the top 10 processes?
and learning the acronyms there kind of organically, rather than learning them as flashcard pieces. Here's what I mean. For example,
Charles took a jump in the deep end of the pool. Oh,
confidentiality, integrity, and availability is an important security
And it's the
concept.
cup.
We refer to that
you're correct, Brian. See, I told you, Brian, y'all try the top. Shows the top processes in Linux, right? And then you can go from there.
So already in section
And then
2, you've learned your
Mr.
first
T
acronym.
said Charles
In
jumped
fact,
too
you've learned
deep.
your
He
second
went
acronym because you have
way over
application
whole lot.
optimization and accounting,
Right.
a term we
So
don't
yes,
say.
top
By
is the
way,
command.
in
Brian is
industry, we don't
correct.
say, is the AAA server working?
And then we've already talked about how these
So,
abnormalities
learning these acronyms
or
is
attacks
just
can
part
slow
of
down
the
production for a business.
learning
It can affect our
process
reputation.
through the
And
objective.
we've seen that this
So,
morning. This is the
learning
second
first. And I would
major
say that
cloud
the
provider
list that's in the back of
that's
this
had a problem
page, it's almost
7 days to today.
things in here that really
What's up with that?
For example,
AWS kicked this thing off last week with DNS. Now Cloudflare has a DNS issue. Think somebody's going around hacking DNSs? That's too much of a coincidence. Nobody in CompTIA and Pearson View can test this morning. So, there's an issue. All right? Yep, the blackout train is on the way. Somebody's in something and it just keeps rolling. So these are the type of things that we have to look at. If we're looking at connection successful IDs, what are we going to see if we can connect successfully to a server? What is it going to return? What number?
Oh.
Ooh, got the break. Dang it, Elaine. Thanks, Elaine. Everybody give Elaine. He needs rockets today. He didn't get no rockets early yesterday. So
Yeah, I was pretty busy yesterday.
he hit that 200s, right? What is going to hit? What number sequence will you hit as a broad spectrum if you can't connect anywhere in there?
Oh, number sequence, we get the 400.
Yeah, 400s. Something in the 400s, right? So we need to understand that as well. And sometimes 5. Yes, Kevin, you're correct. Yeah. So if we know the difference between those and you see those on the exam, that helps us answer that question, right? All right, cool. Now here we go. If we're looking at rogue devices on a network, we see here that there's a wireless access point that can be a rogue. Let's think back to our network plus days. If you start seeing different devices sitting on the network, you can have what they call a shadow IT. Somebody's doing something on your network that you are not aware of. They figured you out, they have your pattern, they know what you're paying attention to, and they know what you're not paying attention to. Okay? Yes, and they're violating the acceptable use policy.
Yeah.
That's why as an IT, listen, I put miles on my shoes every day. I would get up just to walk in other departments, not needing anything, just to talk to people, just to look around to see if there's something there that should be there. Trust me, this is the most valuable tool you can have, is just talking to people and being around. Because if you're not, you're going to try to do stuff. Y'all know how it is. So with this, you have to do the continuous monitoring, look at your network segmentation. Now it's easy to say, but let's go back to how we're going to do this. You have to revisit your DHCP at times. Your DHCP will give you some valuable information. So what information can I glean from the DHCP that I helped set up with LANs and all this stuff? What telemetry, Jesus? What we got? Jesus is like, here we go. He's dropping some stuff. He needs some rockets this morning. He needs rockets. That man just passed that plus. Let's go. He's an expert. Here we go. Leah's thinking. I see your eyes twitching.
And we use some type.
What items can your DHCP
almost everything we do
tell you?
in technology. Whether you are administrator of a laptop or desktop system, maybe you're a network administrator, maybe you're in the security role, maybe you're doing databases, maybe you're in charge of data centers, maybe there's certain applications that you're an expert in.
Trust me, I'm a professional.
If you're in a Windows environment,
All right.
it is incredibly important.
Elaine says IPVs and subnets. You are correct. Aaliyah says pool of addresses. Very important as an IT administrator that you know your pool of addresses that sits on each LAN. What else do we have here? Connected devices. Least, oh my God, Mr. T hit on something. It's that least time. That is really important inside of an enterprise network. You want to lower that least time. Sometimes you don't want it 7 days. You want it only to be 2 to 3 days, where it's always getting a new IP, okay? And reserved IP address is correct that you'll have for static addresses, addresses that you do not want to change, right? So on those devices. Now, if we look over here, what's going to help you too is those scans and sweeps randomly of your network. I can't stretch this enough, though. I said you got to be cautious on what kind of scans you want to do in your network, because this can happen. If you just willy-nilly just start doing scans.
Automate these things that would normally you would manually have to type in. And so if you are in a position where you are needing to explain to someone how
what can happen to your network.
Into this role than someone else,
what was the question?
Skills. Talk about the way that you manage PowerShell. Talk about your Python scripts that you run.
What? I think I got you this morning.
Wait, I didn't hear the question.
Dang it, Mr. T. Doing my expert. He's correct. Service interruption or operational interruption. You could actually, the defenses on the server could kick in, or the IPS, and then restart everything or shut some things down. So you could call service interruption. So be aware of your configurations on your network before you just start probing around. All right. So with that, as we look at the slide, we're looking on the left-hand side over here. We're at the root in Cali. Here's the tilde. What we did is we started nmap, okay, and we're nmapping this IP address. It's going to give us back some telemetry, and this might be one of the tools you might have to use on CYSA Plus inside of a BBQ, possibly, depending on what's in front of you. Nmap tells you a lot of different things as a reminder. If we look at it over here, of course it's going to tell you the version and stuff like that. You're scanning this, tells you your latency, but the most important things, it's going to tell you what open ports you have and what services are running on those ports. You might need that to figure out if you have an intrusion, because it will tell you what's running on there. All right?
It's a very, very powerful security tool, because you don't want to have to go to everybody's individual.
With that helps with any anomaly detection. Now, if you have port security, you can dictate what runs on all of these ports. It takes you a long time to configure port security, but once you have it done and you want specific services to run on certain ports, you're making that happen. So when you run these type of scans, it's easy to identify. Not to say you won't have an intrusion. What you're doing with port security, when you're forcing services to go through any of the ports you pick, and you have to document it, it may be easier to find an intrusion, because if somebody opens up a port that you don't know about and there's a service run on there, you're like, oh, okay, that should not be there, right? It helps identify. So that's the responsibility of that. When you can incorporate honeypots, and then make sure your preventive measures are outlined for your responses. Okay. As I say that, I want to bring a reminder is that you're going to have endpoint detection and response set up. Your client may have to have some downloadable software that reports back to a scene or sword. At minimum, you should have an IDS on your system. An intrusion detection system. Okay? They don't cost that much. at all,
runs the hardware,
right?
building the software.
Mr. T, y'all ever heard of what they call a canary?
It's kind of the
You ever heard of those?
research and development.
Mr. T,
Not
Our
so.
software and our hardware is the
if you need to incorporate
applications, if you want to be
a
an application developer,
quick idea system
that's computer science.
on your network,
If you want to build a data center, if you want to
bring something up for you.
maintain operating systems, you want to improve the efficiency of your network, if you want to secure the data that's on your network, if you want to implement large-scale connectivity across multiple locations with encryption, if you want to make sure that you've got a secure authentication process so that your data is secure, that's information.
Let me show you something.
And those two sides really...
They have this thing called the yellow canary.
There was a push a number of years ago to take developers and turn them into operations people. And if any of us who have been in operations for a long time know, that's an awful idea. Not because they aren't capable of doing it, but because they haven't done it before.
Or is it the red canary?
If you're in a mode of programming and creating applications, you really are not super concerned about...
Don't tell me they want software based.
Implement the change and push...
They have a yellow canary and there it
There's
is.
a whole set of processes behind the scenes of understanding operating systems, managing networks, understanding security aspects, connecting all of those together and keeping them running. And it takes one person an entire career to become an expert in that, just as it takes one
A
person...
canary is a system that you can drop on your network. It was primarily made for Soho.
Combine those two worlds and expect to be any good at application development or any good at doing the information technology because you're not doing any of
For Soho networks at a very low cost.
So that's why I believe...
Okay.
I think that's...
It was yellow, hence the yellow canary. Okay. It looks like they just disappeared in the past year or so. Okay. If you're looking for a hardware piece, here's an intrusion detection appliance that you can have right here. This is an intrusion detection system. You go ahead and set this up, and you can drop it anywhere on your network. Mr. T has it right here. What's this?
Penetration testing, if you're maintaining...
Oh, it's black now?
Setting up a SIM.
Get out of here.
Authentication. Those are all
They
information.
changed it, and they made it smaller. It was a little bigger than this. So you can actually drop this on your network and configure it, right, at a very, very, very low cost. And at minimum, let's say if you want cybersecurity insurance for your company or you have to have at minimum an IDS on your network. How did I get this information? I actually talked to a cybersecurity insurance representative when I went to the CompTIA convention last year. And he was stating that at minimum, if somebody wants insurance on their computers, they have to have an IDS. All right. So that's real good. That's real good.
That's our
real good to know.
System in a nutshell. That's why they don't really talk a lot about IT. They see it as more of something. Yeah, you just get trained.
Again, you're looking for unusual spikes in traffic. That's going to help you out. Helps you with your proactive monitoring and detection. Now, distributed denial of service attacks, the main thing we need to remember is that they use botnets to generate massive traffic. The C2. You have that command and control computer or server. They're the ones that are going to issue different commands to the computers that follow them, which are called zombies. All right, and then they will use the computers at will to start attacks and things of that nature. All right, so if you can get back to the command and control server, which you can't hack back, you shouldn't hack back because that's illegal. But if at some point you can identify the server, that can help a lot of folks bring it down or talk to law enforcement, right? And see what they can do. Anybody can have a botnet. Your computer right now could be part of a botnet and you wouldn't know it. Yeah, this is a remote access terminal, so you have to be cautious. A lot of software can lay low until it's needed. Okay? The key thing here is botnets down here can be leased. You know, Jesus could know nothing about a botnet. Doesn't know, but he knows he has a competitor across town that sells more mattresses than his store
CompTIA is
does.
a great place.
He's getting a lot of traffic. He's like, I want to bring them down. They got a lot of online orders. We do it the old-fashioned way. We want you to come in and lay on the mattress and stuff. These new guys are just shipping. He could hire somebody nefariously to bring down their web traffic at their DNS, which forces traffic to look to him, right? That's the kind of stuff people do, believe it or not. Okay? So you can lease them.
Don't forget, we do one of these every
Sudden dramatic increase in volume, bandwidth consumption, high traffic is starting to come in. So the IDS will look at that, the IPS. And then you have to kick into your DDoS mitigation. Okay, how are you going to defend against these attacks? Do you have a plan of attack? That joke. Do you have a DDoS? Y'all got that? You got a DDoS attack and then. All right, load balance. I know Mike got it. You're correct, Aaliyah. A load balancer. All right. So load balancers are perfect because they can evenly distribute connections across several servers. They can notice if one server is being overwhelmed more than another, so they can cut that one off. They can also serve as an IPS and shut down the connection without shutting down the servers. So it's like they can kill the connections and react temporarily, give you enough time to get in there and see what's going on. And then as it reboots, it'll recognize the traffic again and start redistributing traffic. Load balancers are dope, right? They're like a little Swiss Army knife, okay? If you use them correctly. A lot of people buy this technology, oh, it's cool, and they drop it on the network to do a basic function, and they don't stress that piece of equipment as far as it can go. It can do a lot more stuff, okay? So educate yourself on that too. Next, Mike can get in there and do real-time log analysis. Look at the logs as it's happening on any piece of equipment. Ryan can set up a black hole or a sinkhole on the server. So if traffic makes it past any other pieces of equipment, it can go into an eternal hole of non-response. There's an IP address that can be set up for port forwarding. It goes there, never to return. So that's another way that you can set this up. We already looked at some reputation analysis tools yesterday. Can y'all remember what those are? Coffee break. Can y'all remember some of the reputation analysis websites we went to yesterday? Yeah, we checked a couple of reputations on a couple of different things. Y'all don't even remember. Look at y'all. Mike's like, I don't. He's like, I'm being honest. I had too much going on yesterday. I'm working on a half hour of sleep. He was like, yo, I was a wreck yesterday. So y'all remember anything? Let me give you a hint. Email. There we go. Index toolbox, virus scan, angry IP, yes indeedy. Virus total. We were looking at DNS reputations too, right? Can anybody remember, how do I grab a header from an email? Yes, you're right, Charles, CISA too. How do I grab a header, clip the hamburger, yep, show the original. Man, Kevin, this man, his response times was just like through the freaking roof this morning. It's like a gamer here. He's quick on the mouse. Oh, he's got coffee. I didn't even finish it, okay? Yep, click the hamburger, all of y'all are right. Show the original, highlight, copy the header of the email, chick, and then just drop it in. Okay, and then from there, it's gonna give you a DNS pointer, PT. What
Yeah.
is that, Aaliyah? Ah. So it's gonna show the PTR, the pointer record, the A record to point to the IP address, the IPv4 address. Then you can grab that, take that, see the reputation of the IP address of the DNS, see if it's been blacklisted. Right? So it's a couple of things. Now, here we go. There's several ways that you can mitigate or lower the chances of a DDoS. The Cloudflare has certainly done that this morning because they ain't even working. All right, so you can use these cloud websites as intermediate traffic places. Basically, they're proxies. They're proxies for your website. You know what I mean? Who's seen American Gangster with Denzel? Yep, here we go with Denzel again. Yep. Y'all remember that scene where Aaliyah's like, I ain't seen it. We're going to reenact it for you, Aaliyah. So Denzel, okay? He's got all the mics waiting for it. It just looked like, oh, here we go. Martin too. So listen, he's having this party. Now, he sets the big time drug supply. Okay? So now he's got cops on the payroll. So now he got gangsters and cops in the party. You know what I'm saying? Got the new wife and everything. Bam! He got this little rug. You know what I'm saying? It's an expensive alpaca rug. So what happens is, this relates back to the story. Trust me, it's all gonna come together. Okay? They're used to talking to Denzel through the party. Yo, we got this going on. Well, you need to handle that. And through the whole party's getting pulled. This cop gets out of line. We can call him the DDoS. Okay? He thinks he can do whatever because he on the pay. He comes off sideways to Denzel. He said, what you say? The piano's right there. Denzel starts punching him, puts his head in the piano, slams the piano on his head, kicks him, dang near tries to kill him. They get off of him, come on. Huey. So as he's cleaning the rug, kicks everybody out. There's blood on the rug. He says, that's alpaca. That's expensive. You need to here's some soda water. Use that. Then he just loses it. He says, listen, don't talk to me no more. You need to talk to me. You talk to Huey. Huey, you talk to them. Huey comes back, talk to me. Nobody's been reaching out to me directly. We get out of control here. Y'all remember that part? That's like a proxy. That's like a Cloudflare. Denzel made a statement to say, you don't talk to me directly no more. You talk to Huey. Huey is Cloudflare. Imperva.com. These other sites, AWS, cloud. Meaning, as a website and a domain, I'm connected to them, but you don't talk to me directly. You talk to Huey. Huey will then forward the information to me. I will then talk back to Huey. Huey will then talk to you to give you your classic Denzel. Let me tell you, man. That's what we got. Y'all gotta watch that movie though. Didn't know you were going with that, but it rounded out nicely. Thanksgiving. Yeah, see, gotta make the connection. So when you're at work at your new job out in the wild, they say, what do you know about, they gonna ask Kevin, so what do you know about proxies? You need to talk to Huey. Huey talks to me. You talk to Huey. They're like, what? What are you talking about? Oh, proxies. There goes my interview. Yep. So it inspects the traffic. Firewall gets configured. You do all of your configurations that will apply inside of Cloudflare and Imperva in these different places that are like the barrier between your real DNS, right? You still have to configure those and understand what you're doing, okay? Also, because you have this set up correctly and it's inspecting traffic before, see that? There's Huey right there. It inspects the communication before it reaches Denzel. Huey is the go-between. Okay? Now, this is important because this is what you can have as we can go to the next slide. You can have what they call this thing called beaconing. Bing. All of y'all that work in communication equipment, something beacons all the time. The Apache's beacon, right? Satellites beacon, any kind of something already always sends out a signal to say I either need traffic, awaiting traffic. Speaking of which, I'm pulling this one out the hat. Maybe I get a point on the board today because I left with 0 yesterday. And I ain't helping you. Nah. Here we go. What's the port states? Ooh. Don't look to me for help. I ain't helping. This is an easy point for me. Nope. Oh, here we go. Leah starts it out. Here's one.
Yeah, what was the question again?
She got listening. Forwarding. This does not look like it's going to end well for me. That's 2. Kevin says, what's the question again? Port states.
Port states. Oh, blocking.
Blocking. Listening. Forwarding. Blocking. Learning. Disabled. There's one more.
This.
You're missing one.
Isn't it 4?
Oh, Mr. T.
Oh,
Mr. T,
enable.
I'm gonna get you.
Yeah, enable.
I'm gonna get that man. He's like, yep. I'll see him over here clicking his fingers. Oh my God. You guys got it. Enable, disable, listening, learning, forwarding, blocking.
Yeah, I'm blocking. Yeah.
All y'all get some rockets this morning. That backfired. But to your benefit, congratulations. You might see that on the CYSA exam. So if you do that, you will help to configure your firewalls to find out if there's traffic coming in that should not be there. With that, I am going to drop this to you. Drop it like it's hard. Drop it like. If the beacon try to get at you, drop it like it's hard. Drop it like it's hard. If the packet try to get at you, park it like it's hard. Park it like it's hard. You like that? If the frame try to get at you, park it like it's hard. Park it like it's hard. This is what I sent to you. You need to understand that sometimes the way that the lesson explains it is kind of misleading. It says beaconing, malicious activity. Yeah, I got that. We got that. We know. Now that song's gonna be stuck in my head. Yes, Jesus. If the packet try to get at you, park it like it's hard. That's the firewall rules. So when you look at this, various devices send out beaconing messages. It's common on all network stuff. It's just not with malicious stuff. Okay? Say for instance, you have wireless access points that beacon. Okay? So you have to that's where you have to look at your traffic to see what's good beaconing and what's bad beaconing. We just don't want to say beaconing's all bad. It's not. It's needed. An access point periodically advertise the frame. There's an advertisement frame that goes out, especially if it's on the company infrastructure. It has to let all the other access points know, hey, we're still working together, right? We're still working together, right? That's what it's saying. We're still a team, right? Let me share my information. Bluetooths, they beacon too. It's real low energy, personal area network, but they have to beacon to maintain connection. Your watch, when you walk away, Elaine's watch doesn't have to beacon so much when his watch is right next to his phone. But the further he gets away and it notices, they're like, wait a minute, it'll start sending more frames to try to maintain the connect. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So it works harder a little. I love that. Look at that. Hit the P, turn the engine, parking like it on, parking like it on. There you go. Like that. What up, Snoopy? What up? All right. This class is out of control. Okay, next. You do have threats because the command and control, which is the C2 server, sends stealthy messages. All right? Now, this says frameworks. Yeah, we know that frameworks can help you defend the network, but sometimes you just don't know. You could follow a framework all day. Does that mean your network is totally secure?
No.
Still find a hole, right? Your Internet of Things, they all send beacons to report their status to a central hub or a cloud service. Now you got to look out for this too, because if you're in an industrial environment, that IoT device or that thermostat indicator that sends it back, or let's do more Soho. If I bought a light bulb and put it on my network through my hub, it beacons information back to a centralized server or an intermediate server somewhere in the world to report your usage and your data. It collects data on you, and it beacons that information out to a server that collects it, processes it, and then forwards it to a main server somewhere in the world. Okay? So even your IoT devices, GPS, industrial gateways, they all beacon. You may see this. Okay? This is an example of a frame or an access point beaconing on your network. All right? So, I say that to say this. We have to differentiate. There's some good beaconing and there's some bad beaconing. You have to just be able to figure out what's on your network that shouldn't be there using your various tools. All right. Now, everybody's networks are set up a little different. Okay? So, depending on what tools and strategies you're going to use, that could vary. All right? So, you just got to figure out what you need. I know that's a very broad answer, but start with the basics and you'll figure it out from there. Okay? Not to mention, go back to your baselines. What telemetry would baselines tell me? Let's say for a network. Let me be specific.
For a
Not
network,
wireless access points. For your hardwired network, what can a baseline tell me when you turn everything on and it's working for the first time? As if somebody is sitting there actually doing work. There's very broad answers and there's no right or wrong answers. There's one, bandwidth. Your traffic usage. Yes, Michael, what a normal network would look like if you had 50 users operating this time right now at 8 a.m. This is what it normally looks like, right? What else can you get from there? Love it. Leah says typical port use. Yep. Michael's writing. Yeah. Patterns of behaviors, especially if you have a use entity. User behavior must be automatic without proper setup, plus no proper setup created. But yes, you're correct there, Mr. T. All of that is correct. You can look at it in so many different angles. The cool thing is you have to figure out what is your priority. See how I said that? Because all your networks are going to be different. So what's your priority that you need to pay attention to on your network, right? And it all depends on the industry that you're into. The video we looked at yesterday, right there. When you start scanning traffic, you'll see protocols tell you a lot. Okay? Because these can give away any nefarious activity. I love TCP because TCP connections are connection oriented, meaning it's like registered mail, right? It allows me to track you. UDP, I don't like that. UDP is good, it's faster and it's convenient, but it sacrifices security. This is when service is when a client needs a request fulfilled. When a client needs a request fulfilled from the server. Watch this, you might see this type of language on the PVQ. Serve service refers to the server service. It is associated with named pipe. And that's that pipe command. There's something else we were looking at yesterday. Yep, so as you can see here, 10.1.0.249 is going to the server address of 133. It is requesting something. Now, what you'll see here, the server is now creating a response to send back to 149. Excuse me, 249, right here. It's now saying it's shifting everything over to server message block. Okay, now it's writing the response. 63 bytes. I'm glad we're looking at this stuff. This is going to help you on the exam. This is going to help you. So now, first of all, let's go up here. What's DCERPC?
DCERPC.
Wireshark is passive. It just grabs traffic. It does not interact with traffic. So, distribute computing environment. So what does that do for us? Remote procedural call. So what does that do for us? That definition dropping right on time. Look at that. Mike's like, I got you. Wireshark is a network protocol analyzer that can decode and display the data. In the DCERPC, distributed computing environment remote procedural call packet, which is a protocol used for remote procedures. You can use this to filter the packets on the Windows system. Now, Wireshark is a passive collector. How am I able to get this if it's passive? Kevin says allows the client to invoke procedures on a remote server as if it was bingo. I got it. So somehow somebody's remoting in and changing what it's collecting, and Wireshark is now actively parsing traffic. Now, do you see how that goes? It's remote. So even though it's a passive collector, somehow there's a direct interaction that allows apps to communicate seamlessly. Now there is a actual interaction with how I want to see this information. Do you remember when we were talking about how Wireshark is a passive collector, but it can become active interaction, so you have to be careful, right? Because you can actually take this traffic, mess with the packets, and then re-put the traffic up and replay it. Now it's active. So there are some parts of this traffic that can become active or interfere with what you're looking at. So you got to be careful. All right. All right. So now we're down here. The response is given, and then right here, Microsoft is finishing the request, the acknowledgement, and it's sending it back. And so now they're talking back and forth. Okay. Now here's the problem with me. Now we have 249. So the client is 133. The server is 249. Somehow, somebody remoted in. You got following me now? Server message block. What does server message block, that protocol, use? What does it do? What port and what does it do? What is it responsible for? File transfer, printing. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
File transfer, printing, port 445. SMB secure, Kevin, is that 514? What's 514? You're correct though, 445 is the port, right? So it's for communication. So now you have multifunctional devices or PCs that can handle different forms of media translation. Fax to whatever, okay? Scan to email. It's all file transfer, basically. So now we're looking at, now the client, now you got a remote. Now it's requesting something. And now you get a response. Now it's stating that the client is now directly talking to the server because SRV service is invoked. Server service. Does that look real good to y'all? Or does that look shady? Remote, SMB, syslog operates over UDP. Now you got SMB again. Now the server's talking. And now this is what you see. What did we say yesterday? Now it's pulling. But what is it pulling? Syslog really uses UDP. It's fast, lightweight protocol, minimizes performance over ODA with suitable for high performance and high volume jumbos. Elias is correct. I love TCP traffic because it's some kind of accountability, meaning it's connection oriented. UDP, lightweight, really don't care if you get it or not, but I really don't like it because it's not tracked like that. It's not registered mail. So you're sacrificing speed over security. And you'll see that with file transfer service. So now you have to look at this, and it's looking at the traffic, okay? So when you start seeing stuff like this, and look at the window size just keeps getting bigger. Somebody's expelling some information, large amounts of it. You may see this type of example on the CYSA exam, and they'll present this to you and say, okay, what's happening? And then from a drop down, you have to pick. You have to pick. Oh, darn it. Here we go. So it's good to see this and read it. I'm preparing y'all for the future. And look at your ports too. The ports are important. What's the port 19901? That's a high port. That's a really high port. And source port 37333. Could those be potentially hacker ports? Charles will know about those ports. Maybe, maybe not.
Oh, it's
The IANA assigned that port. What is it used for? Cannot confirm nor deny. NetStat. Interesting. So now you can match up protocols from what's actually happening. You're like, wait a minute. That's how you look suspicious. All right. Continually do your scans. Nmap, angry IP. Look at your logs. We already talked about an intrusion detection system and regular network scans, depending on the level of what your network is set up as. And you can see irregular peer-to-peer communications. Who's talking to what? Sometimes you can come in as this node in network intrusion. Now I'll use this computer as the main resource. Through this one and out. But this one remains, this is where this is a zero client. This is where everything happened from. But let's say Charles sits at this computer every day, and this is Mr. T's computer. If you look at the network logs, all they see is this computer doing all the nefarious activity. I've taken this one out of the equation, but this is where the actual 0 day happened. Does that make sense? So I'm basically setting up Charles to make it look like he stole secrets. This computer is just a pass-through for information to go out and come back in. Yep. So you have to look at that stuff on the network too. Well done. Oh, well